Well, aloha everyone, and welcome to Chaminade University's People and Nature course. This is a 4-credit course, meaning that you are enrolled both in the 3-credit class and also in the 1-credit lab concurrently, although they are separate course shells. So if you're just logging into your course, I'm going to bring you straight to the course shell itself. This is what you should see when you log in the home page. And the first thing I'm going to draw your attention to here is this course overview. So if you click on the course overview, this is going to tell you a little bit more about the course. You've probably already clicked on it in order to be able to see the welcome video. So here we are. Again, it's a 3-credit course with a 1-credit lab that's required. So you're going to take them concurrently, it means together. The entire course is going to be held online. All our lectures are going to be provided as YouTube videos, and the lab outings are going to be responsible for completing on your own if you're able to, or researching online if you're unable to due to COVID restrictions. There are 12 separate units, but they're split up over 9 modules. And along with these 12 units, most of which are self-explanatory, each of them are going to have a video or maybe a video and some supplemental information. And then that video will be accompanied by a PowerPoint lecture. And that PowerPoint lecture you'll be able to flip through as you're watching the video. And then after that, you'll have a short quiz on that section. Several quizzes together will accumulate into an exam. And that's basically going to be on your own. You'll get your grades immediately for those, so you'll know exactly how you stand. But what I want to point out here are these 2 major projects, and these are what we're going to actually be touching base with one-on-one throughout the semester. So we'll touch on those in just a little bit. We have 2 major projects. One is for the Indigenous peoples presentations, and then another is a plastic project, which is a little bit larger, where you're going to be going out into the general community at large, and you're going to be interacting with different businesses, or at least one business in the community, in an attempt to try to reduce their plastic waste. Everything's going to be found on YouTube, so go ahead and hop over there and subscribe, so you'll be able to see all of my video lectures there. And they're also going to be linked directly on the lecture page within each module, so you should be able to find anything that you need pretty easily just by going stepwise through the modules. And again, if you want to go to modules, you would just click right there, and we'll go there in just a minute, so we'll get there. All right, so for the lab essays, you're going to have 13 optional choices, so 13 options, and you're only expected to complete 10 of them. So any 10 that you choose of the 13 lab outings will get you through the lab course shell. And because of that, the way that it's split up is into 3 modules. The first module is just kind of a welcome and overview. The second module is going to be the heart of the matter, where all 13 lab outings are present and you have to complete 10 of them. And then the third one is just going to be kind of a wrap up and overview, where you're going to let me know that you've completed the assignments and that I should go back and take a look and grade them. Okay, so realistically, you won't be getting much feedback from me throughout the course, except for these 2 major topics. We'll be working pretty much hand in hand, one-on-one throughout the semester on the Native Peoples projects and the plastic projects. And again, if you click on those links, they'll pop up and give you some more information about them. In just a moment, I'm going to walk you through each of them. But before we start, the first thing we're going to do here is click on that syllabus. And to save you time, I've already opened it for you here, so let's pop right on over, and you can go along with me, or you can just read here if you'd like. Again, it's going to be found online. So meeting hours, location, all of that is online. That means that we'll be meeting via Zoom. When you set up your Zoom meetings, so you'll be setting them up through your Chaminade account, which gives you unlimited free access to long Zoom meetings. So you'll be sending me Zoom links for your meetings when we're talking about the plastic project or the Indigenous Peoples project as we're getting ready to go through them. But again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. So let's talk about the class itself. So this is the course catalog description for People in Nature and the People in Nature Laboratory. Basically, the general overview is that this class is going to address biological, ecological, and public health questions that have implications on a social, ethical, and religious scale. It's going to be a GE requirement, and again, concurrent registration in the lab is required. The lab work is going to, there's a bunch of different field trips, and we'll talk to you about the different options for your field trips. If you are taking this course out of state and are unable to attend, for example, the Honolulu Zoo, that's fine. Just go ahead and substitute the Denver Zoo or wherever it is that you're located, and that'll be perfectly acceptable. So you can kind of twist these to meet your needs however you feel necessary if you're not going to be in the local area. All right, so the goals of the course is that we are going to start understanding all of the different ideas that unify living organisms and contribute to the biological concepts that are going to have some sort of physical impact for the human pollution and physical impact of human pollution, on the life on Earth. And we're going to attempt one by one to take a little bit of a step to counteract specifically plastic waste, at least here in the local community. And again, that's what our plastic project is going to focus mainly on. Okay, almost everything is going to be found on YouTube. So your lecture links are going to be found on YouTube. Everything is found on Canvas, but most of it's going to be YouTube lecture links. Everything else that is not found on YouTube is going to be found in your Canvas shell. So you're not going to have to go anywhere other than those two locations to find pretty much everything you need. All right, you can read more about our Marianas values, our Native Hawaiian values, etc. These are all going to be kind of standard for the Chaminade syllabi. And what I expect at the end of this course is that you will be able to talk about the characteristics and basic needs of multiple different types of living organisms and ecosystems as a whole. Talk about how individuals and populations grow and develop. Critically assess waste reduction projects, and that's going to be really important. So designing your own waste reduction project, critically assessing the waste reduction project that you implement is going to be really important on a broader scale, not just for this project, but for projects in the future. We also want you to display critical thinking skills. So this is definitely going to be the kind of course where you are taking the helm and you are your own kind of guidance throughout here. So you're going to be making your own responsible decisions as to when things are due and how to find information, etc., when it's time to reach out to me if you're unable to figure out that information or if you're out of your breath, etc. We're also going to try to extend the breadth of comprehension to all of our ecological sciences. And again, talk about the factors that unify living organisms as well as those that contribute to the diversity of different organisms. Talk about all of the different biological concepts that underlie the physical and chemical bases of life. And last but not least, we want to talk about the scientific method, the scientific process of investigation and problem solving, and its role as well as limitations within society. And then you guys will actually all be implementing your own projects of ecological impact. Again, you'll be using your own problem solving skills. So you will have to identify the problem, which unit or which business are you going to partner with? Where are they using too much plastic? How are you going to counter that by offering canvas bags, for example, or reusable metal straws, etc. And we'll give you a lot of different examples of things that you can do. It does not necessarily have to target plastic specifically. It can just be something that's extremely wasteful that you've targeted. For example, if you have an area in your local community where you see that they have a lot of paper waste, you might want to figure out a way to turn those into notebooks or something. It doesn't necessarily have to be plastic related, but most of the projects are going to be plastic related. Okay, so that's where that plastic project kind of falls in place here. Okay, so these are some other informations if you want to click here to figure out for some technical Canvas assistance or tutoring and writing services. All of these links are here. And then last but not least, let's talk about our grading scale. So the grading scale is going to be 90 to 100 for an A, 80, 89, B, etc. 0 to 59 is going to be an F. Because of this lenient grading scale, there is not really much room for curvature here, although almost everything is graded online, so you will see your grades as you go along. The only two exceptions are going to be that plastic project and the Indigenous Peoples project. Again, you should have a feel for where you stand because we'll be talking one-on-one via Zoom as we go along. Okay, so for this one, there is no late work policy. Nothing is going to be turned in late because it's a flexible course. That means that you're able to design when you turn in what, and as long as you meet the parameters that you set, there is really no late work. We will have the option of an incomplete grade, which means that if you let the time expire and you do not complete the course, I believe it's 6 months that you are granted for these flex policies. So if you do let that time expire, we will be able to give you an incomplete to allow you to maintain access to Canvas until you're able to complete the project. However, all incomplete assignments have to be completed within 75 days of the incompletes. So just kind of keep that in mind. After you're given the incomplete, that starts your clock countdown for 75 more days. Okay, so this is all how to use the internet respectfully, but I think we're all pretty familiar with that. So I'm going to go ahead and move back over here to the next steps. So after you've opened this, you've watched this video, thank you so much. You have clicked on a couple links and figured out what you're supposed to be doing for certain things. You've downloaded the syllabus, yada, yada. The next thing that I want you to do is go ahead and click on the course completion schedule. And you can find this in assignments, but I've just kind of saved you a little bit of time. So you click on assignments, you'll find course completion schedule. You'll also find this in the modules. If you just stepwise hit through the modules, this is one of the very first assignments that you're going to hit. Okay, this is when you tell me when you intend to finish. Now, this is really important because these classes can range in time from 6 to 10 weeks to 6 months. And I need to kind of know what time frame I can expect to be checking in with on what students so that nobody falls through the cracks. So if you are a 6-month student, just let me know that you probably won't be hearing from me for the first couple of months. But if you're a 6-week student, I'm going to need to check back every couple of weeks, right? So we want to make sure that we are on the same page in terms of what we can expect from each other. And in order to do that, we're going to fill out this course completion schedule. After you finish that, it'll be submitted to me. I'll be able to take a look at it, and then we can kind of have an idea of where we're going to be going throughout the semester. Again, if you end up saying you're going to be done in 10 weeks and it takes you 12, there are no late assignments. We just want to have at least a general idea or springboard of what we're going to be doing. So go ahead and fill out that course completion schedule. You're going to do that same thing when you get into the lab section as well. So you're going to do it for both the course and for the lab, which are found in different Canvas shells, even though they're going to be, and they are going to be different grades as well, even though they're all going to be kind of the same class. Again, the course is separate from the lab. So I need to fill out 2 of these course completion schedules. All right, that should take you very little time, but in order to do that, you are going to want to have already downloaded the syllabus, etc., so that you can kind of get a feel for what we have to do when. So let me pull back up a little bit of the syllabus here and the schedule. This is when we're going to talk about what our modules are. So once you have reviewed all of this and have a feel for how long it's going to take you to get through each of these modules, then you're going to go ahead and fill out that course completion schedule that we just talked about. Okay, so again, we're going to have 9 modules total. We're going to have 12 units, which are going to be our YouTube lectures, or which are basically my YouTube video lectures, which are going to be accompanied by PowerPoints. You can find all of that in each of the modules. And on top of these 12 units, we're going to have specialty things like the plastic project and the Indigenous Peoples project. So because of that, and they're such large projects, I have them embedded in some of the other modules. So module 1 is going to include the first 2 video lectures, which each are going to have their own quiz associated with it, multiple quizzes 1 through 4 become an exam 1, for example. But on top of that, you're also going to have little things that are going to have to be check-in for the larger projects, because I can't put one project into a module and then expect you to complete it all in one go. These bigger projects are going to have to be completed throughout the course of the semester. So for each of the 2 major projects, I need you to do one thing in the first module. The first for the plastic project is to identify whatever local business you want to partner with. Right? And what I mean by this, I typically would like you to identify a couple in case something falls through. And this is a way that you can identify which businesses are using too much plastic in what way. Talk to the manager, the owner, see A, if they are willing to work with you, and B, where they think their problems are, and then start to initiate the project if possible. Okay? This is something that I'm going to need you to give me when we are meeting for our Zoom meeting. So when you're meeting for the very first Zoom meeting for our plastic project, you're going to need to tell me beforehand with the Zoom link, who are you partnering with? What is their phone number? What is the goal of the project? Only a couple short sentences, but just an idea of where you're going to be eliminating that plastic waste and what do you intend to do, right? So that's the very first step. Basically just an overview of the plastic project, and that's going to be completed in Module 1. The second thing that I ask you to do in regards to the Indigenous People project is to identify an Indigenous tribe that you intend to research. Who is going to be the subject of your PowerPoint presentation, and just email that to me. Just step 1, figure out who you're going to research. Not really a big deal, but at least get you a leap into the internet search field so you have an idea of what tribe it is that you want to pay some attention to. Okay, so Unit 2 is pretty simple. Module 2 is for Units 3 and 4. Again, it's going to be video lectures, pretty simple. You'll have the PowerPoints to work with and a short little quiz after each of them. For Module 2, while there's nothing specifically due for the plastic project and the Indigenous Peoples project, you still want to keep that ball rolling, right? So you want to make sure that you are still kind of talking about what you're doing with your different projects and make sure that you have an idea where you want to go next. Now for Unit 3, for Module 3, I'm not going to give you any video lectures or anything other than focusing on the plastic project. Let's get this plastic project started. So during this module, you will be expected to prepare a Zoom meeting. That means that you will have to send me the Zoom link and the time and make sure that it's coordinated, etc. And I will sit and discuss with you what you intend to do. When you show up to this meeting, you need to tell me who your community project partner is, what your idea is, and how you intend to implement it. It's always a good idea to have a backup plan as well, just because this sometimes can be something that reaches a lot of dead ends. This is why I want it to get started fairly early on. This is about 1/3 of the way through the semester, because if you hit a dead end or something is a kink in the plan, you want to be able to roll with those punches. You don't want to end up hitting that kink all the way down at the end of the semester and then being held up, unable to complete the major project. Okay, for Module 4, we're going to get through Units 5 and 6. Same thing, PowerPoint presentation, video lectures, short quizzes at the end, fairly simple. But additionally, I want you to give me an outline of the Indigenous peoples. And if you look online, I'll have a series of the FAQs for the Indigenous People Project. What is it that I'm looking for? And we'll talk a little bit about that. Basically, I'm looking for the names of the tribe, the area of the tribe. What do they eat? What are their sustenance? What kind of, are they agriculturalists or are they hunters? How do they interact with each other? Are they warring civilizations? Peaceful civilizations? How do they trade? What is their currency? What kind of arts and music do they interact with? What's their sexual division of labor? Also, what about burial rites and other types of cultural things? What kind of medicines have they discovered or utilized from their local community, right? Anything that you can find online. And again, some of these things are going to be available for some tribes and others might not have these things available, or there might be something totally unique to your tribe that I didn't mention. Go ahead and pop that in there too. So this is when you're going to give me kind of an overview of what you intend to talk about, and then I can look at it and say this needs to be fleshed out a little bit or tell you that you're on the right track. Okay, so again, that's going to be due in Module 4. For Module 5, same thing, 2 units 7 and 8. PowerPoint presentations, YouTube video lectures, and short quizzes. But additionally, for the plastic project, we're going to have a rough draft due. So you can prepare your Zoom meeting if you choose. You don't have to. If you really are already on the right track and you have an idea what you're doing and the last Zoom meeting went great, then so be it. But if you need to touch back and ask a couple more questions, which I have the feeling a lot of you might need, we have the second optional Zoom meeting scheduled. Again, this will be scheduled by the student. And at this point, it's going to be a discussion where you are bouncing ideas off of me. So I'm not going to be telling you what to do. I'm going to be listening to what you have to say in terms of the progress you've made on the project, what kind of hurdles you might be facing, any questions you might have. Again, come ready to seek advice, not looking for instruction. It should already be well underway. If it's not already started, then you are behind. And if it's going really well, you can skip this step. So this is kind of an intermediate, if you need it, handhold step. Module 6 is going to be the Indigenous People presentation. For this is going to be a YouTube link. So this project is going to be, you're going to make a PowerPoint presentation, then you're going to, just like I am right now, QuickTime record your screen recording, and then upload it to YouTube and provide me with a YouTube link. That will be the ultimate thing for your Indigenous Peoples presentation. I believe you may have to also upload the PowerPoint. I'm not sure exactly if that was set up. If so, then that is a step as well. This is going to be worth 50 points, I believe, and the plastic project is worth 100 points. So these are going to be very large chunks of change in terms of your final grade, so you're going to want to make sure that you're meeting these deadlines. Okay. After you finish your Indigenous Peoples presentation, we're going to take a little bit of a break on the plastic project for the next couple units, and that's going to be units or modules 7 and 8, where we get through units 9 through 12, and then at the very end, last module 9 is going to be the final draft of your plastic project. This is going to be due both as a YouTube link and as a report, an 8 to 10 page paper where you're discussing what you have done, who you have worked with, how this has been implemented, what kind of kinks you've hit in your plan, and last but not least, how this project is going to be carried out once you are gone. Because the idea is that we're reducing plastic waste, not just on the semester basis, but going forward for this business, right? So that we can say that in the local community, we have reduced the impact of plastic pollution, etc., right? So that's kind of the goal here. And then all coursework is due by the end of the term. For you guys, the end of the term is going to be whenever you say it is. So I can't give you a hard deadline here. This is going to be your deadline to choose. And just as I talked about previously, 90 to 100, etc., is going to be our grading scale. So these are pretty lenient grading scales, and there's really no reason for me to have to give anybody curves, but we'll see if you fall in at that very close 89.5 range. I might bump you up to the 90 if I'm nice, but no expectations there. Okay, so again, that's going to cover the syllabus and the course schedule. So once you've looked at that course schedule, and I want you to come back to this course completion schedule we already talked about, fill it out, and let me know when you intend to get through each of them. This is due within 1 week. If you do not fill out this course completion schedule by that first Sunday, they boot you out of the class. So make sure that you get this done, because the booting is done automatically. I'm not involved in that, and getting back in is going to be involving re-registration, etc. So this has to be finished in order for you to be marked as present for the class. And if it doesn't happen, then you get booted out at the end of the week. So make sure that you do get this completed. Okay, so now let's move on to the major projects. I feel like I've kind of covered what I expect from each of the units, which again is just going to be a video lecture, PowerPoint presentation to accompany that video lecture so you can flip along with it and take notes, and then a short quiz on each of those, which combined are going to account for your exam grade, right? And again, there's 2 major projects I'm going to talk about now. The first one is going to be the Indigenous People presentation. Okay, this is going to be a 50-point project. The final presentation from a YouTube link is going to be the majority of the meat of the matter. It's going to be 30 points. So that's 60% of the project. The final project itself, which is the PowerPoint, etc., without you speaking over it, is going to be worth 10 points. And then the outline, which is going to be presented to us much earlier in the semester, 5 points. Just picking the name of the people, worth 5 points. So all of that, again, is worth 50 points total. Okay, this is going to give you a little bit of information about what I would like from the video lecture and the slides. I want about 15 to 20 slides, and I want you to pick some sort of color font scheme and stick with it. I really get distracted when people change a bunch of colors or change a bunch of fonts. Try to make it seem something that kind of is bright and poppy, that's something that's going to draw attention. And don't be afraid to link in a video here and there. If there's something that they say the tribe is known for its Indigenous dancing or its Indigenous weaving, go ahead and link a YouTube video at the end that people can, for supplemental information, go ahead and take a look at. Okay? Again, you can find all your guidelines here, and this is going to be worth, at the end, a good 50 points. There's also an FAQ, which when you get to the module, it'll link you to that FAQ sheet, and any questions that you may have as you're going through, you can, of course, reach out to me. All right? So that's our 50-point Indigenous Peoples presentation. And last but not least, the plastic project is our biggest project of the semester. This is going to be a 100-point project. And this is going to give you a Word document version of it if you want to click right here, but basically everything on here is going to be in that Word document. The goal is to partner with a local business and identify where they can cut back on excessive waste. Now, yes, usually I am aiming for plastic, but if you find that you have a company that is very wasteful and something like chemicals are very wasteful and something like paper or whatnot, we're not going to limit you to the plastic waste parameters. Many amazing projects have come out focusing on aluminum waste or composting waste or paper waste, etc. Okay, so the goal is to team with a local business and find the least expensive way. In fact, the least expensive, the better, because the least expense the business has to cover, the more successful the program is going to be, and the least likely they're going to abandon it going forward, especially if you can make them a profit, right? So it has to be inexpensive and less wasteful than their current method. Hopefully, it'll be more cost-effective in price to their current model or equal in price to their current model. And you want to test anything that's going to attack the amount of waste that local business produces. Anything that they could switch to an eco-friendly alternative, whatever that is. And again, here's some other options. Office mugs instead of disposable cups. Metal paper straws instead of plastic straws. Office recycling bins. Oftentimes they like this idea. If you pay for the recycling bins and get them implemented and get them started and they start seeing that they're making money, oftentimes a business will keep this going. Or if you don't have you could get a charity pickup program where they come and pick things up for you instead of having to take it somewhere. And yeah, you might not get the money out of it, but at least it's completely out of their hands and hassle-free. So whatever works best with the actual business, maybe switching to emailing receipts, for example, instead of printing receipts. Small little things, or canvas bags instead of plastic. Small little things add up, and this will allow you to be able to make an impact on your local community in terms of the waste that the different local businesses are going to be producing. Talks about obstacles that you might overcome, the role that you're going to have to take. Again, you're going to assess the business for waste consumption and then take stock of wherever you can to be able to assist the business to becoming more eco-friendly, a little bit more green. Make sure you talk to the management. This is where local businesses are much different from, say, for example, larger businesses. You might have a hard time convincing someone in a Starbucks to make any changes, but a mom and pop shop who actually does make the monetary decisions might see the benefit of implementing an eco-friendly solution, right? Once you find an area in which you can partner and address the plastic waste, come up with that action plan. And at this point, get ready to talk to me, right? Discuss it with the management, etc., and then get ready to set up a Zoom meeting with me to make sure that we can get everything on the right page so that you're not going to continue along an action plan that is not going to implement the change that you need, okay? So once you have the action plan, check in, make sure everything's going well, and then implement that action plan. And again, this is where you might end up with a lot of snags and hurdles. And so you might have to roll with the punches here a little bit and revise and start an alternative plan. So try to make backup plans if you have them, just to make sure that you're not going to end up stuck in the 11th hour without being able to finish the project. Okay, again, it's worth 100 points. The presentation is worth 50% of that. All right, same thing as before. You're going to make a PowerPoint presentation. You're going to set it up on your screen and then record it. I use QuickTime, but there's a lot of other options. You can record it directly into YouTube, whatever. Upload it to YouTube and send me a link. That will be count as your presentation. We also are going to have to make several different steps as we go through. The first is really simple. Figure out who you're partnering with and give me their information. Pick at least 3 local businesses in case the first 2 fall out, right? Then come up with a draft of your action plan. Just an outline form is fine. Submit that. Eventually flush that into a rough draft, into a final action plan, but not just writing it, right? Actually implementing it. So you have to actually implement this plan and write it up and then demonstrate what you have done in terms of a presentation. Okay, so this shows you how we would like to set up your slides. Usually I ask between 12 and 15 slides for a 15-minute presentation. It's going to include an introduction of yourself and, if you were doing this with team members, your team members, but this will be a personal introduction. An introduction of your project. Who are you working with? What's the problem? What kind of plastic waste or whatever type of waste are we addressing here? What is our action plan? What kind of hurdles do you have to overcome? How do we implement it? And last but not least, how will it be perpetuating your absence? This is really key because otherwise when you walk away, this program falls apart and then we're not doing anything to actually solve pollution on the long-term scale. We're just doing it right now to make ourselves feel good. And that's not really what we're looking for, right? We're looking for long-term solutions to pollutions in our local environments. Okay. And last but not least, results. You can always go ahead and implement and say things here that failed as well. They don't necessarily all have to be positive results. But if you did have a problem, talk about how you countered it and what you did in exchange, right? And then last but not least, any work you may have cited or acknowledgments, etc. You can also submit short video clips or whatnot if you have something else to submit there as well. Okay, so again, that's going to be your full 100 points for the plastic project. I do believe that I have hammered this home enough that we can go ahead and log out of the course and switch over to the lab section. I do apologize if this is a long video, but I may as well just combine them so that you only have to listen to it once. This is the lab section. Again, this is what you'll see when you hit home. Just like before, I'm going to take you straight to the course overview. This overview is going to talk about the People in Nature Lab. Again, this is where you would have had your video, but it's in the other section. For this People in Nature Lab, it's going to be entirely online and asynchronous. That means nothing is due at any particular point, and that everything is due by the end of the semester. As long as everything is turned in at the end of the semester, then we are all good to go, right? You have 13 lab activities available. You may choose any 10 of them. Again, Module 1 is just going to be kind of a quick introduction. All of the meat is in Module 2. Module 1 is an introduction, Module 3 is a wrap-up, and Module 2 is all of the heart. So make sure that you complete 10 of the 13. You do not have to complete all 13. Again, because of COVID, you're not necessarily obligated to go to the locations in person, but if you can, I'd really prefer that. But if you can't go in person, you're still required to perform whatever internet research you can to complete the assignment. So if you can't go to the Marine Biology Institute, for example, you still have to look up contact information and then maybe contact a researcher at that institute and ask a couple questions about their work. And this way you can kind of, even though you're not present, you can still have your thumb on the pulse of the assignment. Additionally, if you're not here locally and you're somewhere else in the mainland, Arizona or whatnot, go ahead and substitute a report on your local, whatever it is that fits however you can. So twist it to meet your needs, right? This is a very flexible course in a lot of ways. And as long as you're able to demonstrate that you are actively engaging and investigating these projects and topics, then we are happy to work with you, even though the assignments might not be exactly what they were originally, okay? Again, because of the fact that this could be anywhere between 6 months and 6 weeks and 6 months, the first thing that I need you to complete is this course completion schedule. And again, this is going to pop up in that first module. Same thing as before. Look over the syllabus, give me an idea of when you're going to be completed, and then submit that to me. If you do not do this, you will get booted out. So again, you have 1 week to do this, both for the course and for the lab. I cannot emphasize this enough. You have to do this because this is going to basically say, yes, I'm in this course, I'm actually active and participating, and I intend to complete it. And that is kind of what has to happen in order for you to stay in the class, because after a certain time frame, then you're indicated as present, which is when the payroll goes out to all the professors, and then all of a sudden you're actually in the class. So again, it's really important to complete this. All right, so you fill out the course completion schedule. Again, that has to happen on the very first week by Sunday at the last of the Sunday after the first week of class. Right? And then what you need to do is go ahead and go over to so you can find this in modules, but I'm just going to kind of skip to the assignment section. As you can see in assignments or modules. Oh, I guess I have it in modules. All right, so here we are in modules. The first thing that you're going to look at, again, is going to be module 1. So this is just kind of a welcome and overview. There's not much to do for these. You'll just be clicking through and reading. But then when you hit here, here's the module 1, which is where you're going to have the to-do list. You're going to get that course completion schedule finished. Short little community of practice participation. So it's basically like Facebook, but for Canvas. So you have to make a couple comments about yourself for the local community. Again, it's not going to be on the out in the general web, but it is going to be available to anybody that is signing up for this course in the same section as you. And then last but not least, we'll start on the actual lab activities, all of which are found in Module 2. I'm just going to click on a couple. Now, you don't obviously have to click on all of them. Let's click on the aquarium. So when you click on one, it's going to tell you what we intend for you to do. I intend for you to visit the Waikiki Aquarium. Again, if you're not here and you want to go anywhere else, you can substitute whatever other aquarium you can find for the Waikiki Aquarium, or you can call up the Waikiki Aquarium and ask your questions and get the information from someone behind the desk if you want. But generally what we want is for you to actually go to the outing itself if possible, and what we'd like to do at the end of each of these is to post a photo from your outing. So when you go to these locations, please take a picture of yourself there if possible, maybe not of you, but of whatever you've seen, and submit it to the community of practice location. In order to earn credit for that, you have to have a hashtag. That hashtag is hashtag people and nature. If you use that hashtag when you post for the community of practice, then I will search for that hashtag when I am ready to grade you and make sure that you have a hashtag alignment with each one. That's just a quick 1 point for each of them, so I don't know if you necessarily need to do that, but I would do that because it's certainly worth it. After that, you're going to have a prompt for a 1 to 2 page write-up. Now that prompt is going to be for each of them. It's going to be different. In this case, it's going to be this prompt here. Pick a marine species and research the effect that humankind has had upon its natural habitat, and discuss what the problem is, how we can address it, and possibly mitigate the damage and restore the habitat. Okay, so again, you don't necessarily have to go to the Waikiki Aquarium to address this prompt, right? You can get this prompt answered by doing your own independent research online. And again, you don't have to go to the Waikiki Aquarium. You can go to any aquarium if you are able to do, for example, Chicago Aquarium or whatnot. So whatever's close by you, make this work for you however is necessary. For all write-ups, the write-up should be 1 to 2 pages in length. And you'll get 9 points for the write-up and 1 point for that pretty little picture that you put in the community of practice. Okay? All right. Again, if you're unable to visit, you can substitute other things for the photograph for your participation. For example, a screenshot of some of the sites that you may be using for your Google references to be able to talk about these marine species or whatnot, right? Or you can also put a link up that is going to connect it. Hey, other people might be interested in this link to this particular aquarium about this particular type of shrimp. Hashtag people in nature. I will accept that as well. So you don't necessarily have to have a picture in your community of practice if you don't attend. If you write it up online, you just have to have something that's posted in the community practice that can be shared with the other students in your class. All right, so that's for each of your modules. Once you have finished 10 of the 13, again, you do not have to do more than 10 of the 13. Once you have finished those, then the last that I want you to do is this review. At the end, you will be prompted, both for the course and for the lab, in the very last module, you will be prompted to complete a Google survey. That Google survey will basically say, it's a wrap-up survey. I've submitted all the final work. That shoots an email to me that says, okay, the student has completed all of their work and you need to go grade them. However, in addition to this, I would recommend that you also just shoot me an email, genevieve.griffiths@chaminade.edu, right? And then if you can go ahead and just shoot me an email that says, hey, professor, I've completed this assignment and I'm ready for you to grade it. That is more likely for me to make sure that I'm going to kind of double checks, basically, that I'm ready to go ahead and grade everything. So that is going to wrap up everything that I expect from you. I hope that that is clear and concise, and I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic semester. Reach out to me at any time. My cell phone is 302-562-6493. Text messages are best. I also... Again, email genevieve.griffiths@chaminade.edu. Reach out to me with any questions, and have a fantastic semester. It's really lovely to have met everyone, and I'm really looking forward to having a great time with you guys. Take care, and aloha. Happy